sometimes you need a little bit of a persuader. And what I like to use as a form of persuading is a hammer. What's up, guys? Today we're doing a brake job on the front. If you saw my short video that I posted, I had failed my inspection last month on my rear brakes. So I had to get rear brakes and I needed to get that done fast. So I just did the job. I didn't even record it because I just needed to get it done. I figured that I would at the same time get upgraded brakes for the front. I would also thinking just doing a video for the front. For those who aren't familiar with doing a brake job, it's fairly straightforward. So let's talk about some tools that you're going to need to get you familiar with what might need to be done. I do happen to be doing this at about 4:30, basically the middle of January. It's cold. It's getting dark also. Pretty much sunset any minute. If you're doing it outside at night, get yourself some shop lights. These are 500 watts each, super bright, and they get really hot as well. So this is going to be my heat source to help keep me warm as well. Help me see. Other parts that you're going to need, tools, not parts. Get yourself some sockets. I'm pretty sure that I'm going to need 18s. At least the rears were 18s. Front should be as well. I had a crazy, the only 18 millimeter socket that I had was this funky pass-through kind, and it was actually making the job a little bit difficult. Wrench. Gloves, make sure you get the ones with fuzz on them. Shop towels, can never have too many of those. Get yourself some caliper grease. You're gonna need this stuff. You can also get, they sell them in like little ketchup packets. Those work too. PB blaster or any type of penetrating catalyst. WD-40 works in a pinch. You're gonna need a floor jack. If you're able to reach and it fits, get yourself an impact driver. These things, or rather an impact wrench, those things work pretty good. This came as part of my kit. I may end up doing those another day, only because these take a little bit of time. They're little, like little rubber boots for the slide pins on the caliper. When you lift up your Jeep, wheel chocks, helps it from rolling back. Brake pads. So these are what I ended up going with. Power stop, extreme. And it's a nice looking kit. Really big. Yeah, see, these are the brake lube. No, you don't need much, but just enough. It comes with new hardware for that as well. This is what we're looking at for a new rotor. Matching set for the pads. Power stop extremes, drilled and slotted. Some people will say, why'd you go drilled? Those things are gonna crack. Well, I drive a Jeep Grand Cherokee. I'm not taking this thing on track day. I'm not taking these things to like extreme temperatures where they're glowing and cooling and glowing and cooling. You know, they're not gonna crack on me. All right, so that's pretty much it. Get all your stuff together, and lastly, you can't really see it right now, it's dark. Wait a minute, yes you can. Bang! Get yourself some jack stands, get those set up, and I'm using wood because when you're working on pavement, anything that has a heavy weight in a small area, it's going to end up concentrating and sinking into the pavement. So there we go. Next step, jack up the car. A couple more things that I thought of. You're gonna want a little pick. You can see that, right? Just a little pick. Jeeps have a little rubber O-ring that sits around the hub up against the brake, and you'll see it. I'll show you. Basically, you're gonna need something pretty small with a small little tip just to get underneath it so you can just pull it off. And a comfy seat, or maybe a not so comfy seat, so that you can plop your bum and then you can just do the work just by sitting there. Loud! so I got the wheel off. This right here, you can see it. So you can see that's a little rubber gasket. You got to get that off, otherwise you're not going to be able to pull the rotor off of the hub. And the lighting on the back side is not great. Maybe I can get one of my other lights, but the bolts that hold the caliper on, be happy to let you know that they're not 18s, they're 19s. So make sure you got a 19. And I remembered one more tool that you're going to want. See it right there? You're going to need a torque wrench, obviously, so that you can torque everything down appropriately, and your lug nuts putting the wheels back on. It may also help to turn your wheel so that you have better access from the backside of the caliper. So we want the back to come out, so that means turn it to the left. Should have plenty of room now. Oh yeah, that'll fit. Excellent. You need to loosen up this bolt and then this one. These take 19s. And what I'm gonna do, just because it'll be easier, it'll be faster, I'm gonna use my impact driver. I keep calling it a driver. Impact wrench. You know, an ugga-dugga, just to make it easier. Now, these are also very heavy. When you get these bolts disconnected, it will want to support itself just because of the nature of the caliper still having a little bit of a clamp pressure. So just make sure that when you disconnect it and you go to remove it, have something handy nearby that you can rest it on. I just use like a 5-gallon bucket. I've done this on pretty much all of my brake jobs. Pretty much the right height. The reason why you don't want to let it hang is you could easily break the lines. It could bend, or you know, if you're still using the rubber hoses, these things could crack or snap, whatever. Just save yourself a headache. Get one of these to rest it on. So I just realized something, and I'm a little bit of a fool. I'm ashamed to admit. However, they use the same size as the key for my lug nuts. I thought it was a 19. Turns out that it's a 21. Make sure you have a 21, not a 19, because that will make a difference, as I just found out.
Loud noises!
Brace for impact. Okay. Once it's broke free, don't do it all the way. Get the other one broken free. Okay. Just get a little bit loose. Now, when you're about to completely remove it, support it with your hand, because it is heavy. And see, if I just let go of it just a little bit, you can see the caliper is still holding on to everything. So, a little bit of a rock back and forth. And you know what? Let's try something else. Sometimes you need a little bit of a persuader. And what I like to use as a form of persuading is a hammer.
Loud noises!
Right. Looks like my ABS sensor line is a little snug. There we go. A little bit of PB Blaster in there just to get a little lubricated, and this is the part where you use a pick. You do have to be a little careful. Try not to break this little rubber gasket. The idea is to just get it right underneath. And walk it around. Because it spent a lot of years, a lot of miles getting pressed in between the hub and the brake. And it will form a little bit of rust on it just from the iron from the brake. Press up against it if you need to. That came apart fairly easy actually. And now at this point the rotor can come off. Here comes the fun part where you need to remove the bracket that holds the two parts of the caliper together. You need to get that taken off. Not all cars have this. They might have a different design, different flavor, but it's meant to basically put pressure on the brake pads to keep them from, kind of walking around, bouncing around, whatever. So it's a real stiff piece of metal. It's kind of a pain to deal with because it's got a clip going into this part, and then it's resting right up against this. So it wants to catch on the inside of that hole right there. There might be a tool that makes this easy. I'm a DIY guy. I don't know if such a tool exists, but I just kind of dive right in and just get to it. So the removal of the pads, not all that difficult. Still has decent life, but I want new ones. Alright, let's try and get this piece out. Don't work like that. Any skilled mechanics watching me probably laughing. Ah, you're doing it wrong. Yeah, probably. So I just kind of do this stuff and I figure it out as I go. Alright, what else could it be? Oh, I'm just going to take you out. It started to peek through. There we go. I did something. If I can reproduce it on the other side, I'll let you know. So now once you've got that done, the caliper just kind of free glides around. But at this point, we need to get these 2 pistons to go back in. So they make tools for these. Basically, it's like a flat metal plate that goes across, and there's a clamp. You just twist it, tighten it down, and it will push the pistons right back in. But what I do is quite simply find, you know what, I'll just put the old one back in. Put your old pad back in. And these are just oil filter pliers. You just need something big. And then just lightly squeeze it. Of course, make sure that your pads are seated in there correctly. Okay. And then just lightly squeeze it. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but it is going in just ever so slightly. So once you pop a blood vessel, getting the pistons pushed in, just take that back out, the pad. This comes with new hardware, so if you don't have new hardware, then just reuse it. But if you get new hardware, put it on, might as well. Ding ding. Now, what you want to do with your new pads, you want to grease them up. But why would you want to grease up the pads, you ask? Well, what you should do is grease up where the pad ends up connecting and touching to the caliper. On the caliper, grease up, and this will help with any squeaking in the future. That's why I suggest getting a bottle of this caliper grease, because you won't really have enough of the other one if you don't. And then what you want to do is get some grease onto the back side of the pad. And lastly, once you've done that, grease. Because this is the part that also goes in and out. Okay. Now there should be, let's turn the caliper upside down. So down in the channel, right down in here, that's actually where the caliper ends up fitting into. So you want to put some grease into that area on both sides. Just make sure as you're doing this that you don't get any grease on the pad, because then you'll just need to clean that up afterwards. Okay, so at this point we're pretty much ready to put the pads in. So you just gotta slide the pad. It's gonna have that little kind of hook on the side of it. You want to get that into the little channel on both sides. And the caliper, it has a little bit of wiggle when you don't have that bracket in place. So you might need to adjust the caliper a little bit to try to get it into place. And then you got those little kind of spring clips, and those go into the barrel of the pistons. So once you get those in, it just snaps into place. It looks like I have a little bit of grease there that I'll want to wipe off. Now we've got the outer brake pad, and you just got to do the same thing. So this is going to be sitting down along the bottom, so take a look to see where you need to put it, and you want to apply the grease where it's going to be resting. So a little bit here, it's like a little bit here, and a little bit to the other side, and then you've got the little hooks. You want to get that all greased up. And then it just slides right into place. So then what's next? Got the caliper with the pads all set. Well, we just need to get the rotor put on. That's where you grab the almost 30-pound rotor. Get it out of its beautiful little bag. And at first you need to clean it. So get your brake clean, which I didn't get out yet. So they sell brake parts cleaner, brake clean. It's all the same stuff. And the reason for using brake clean is to keep your brakes from rusting before the customer, me, actually gets them. There's a very, very small coating of oil on them as protectant, and you don't want that on your brakes, right? Or else they're not really going to work. So the idea is to spray down the braking surface to get rid of it. Do that to both sides. Notice on the inside it's kind of concaved. If you're dealing with your rear brakes, you're most likely gonna have a drum on the inside, because that's for the parking brake. So you want to make sure that you get the inside as well. Okay. So once you've got that all done, it's ready to go on the car. So the rubber little O-ring that goes around, so you know it's all kind of rusty and stuff. It's just rust that's kind of coated the O-ring a little bit, so you can get a little bit of WD-40 or something, and just with a shop towel just wipe it off. All right. So with that rubber O-ring on, you can see it. Well, okay. Let me try this again. Popped off. Don't you be calling me a liar. Alright, see? Doesn't want to come off. We're at this point ready to put the brake back onto the rotor. So let's get to that. Now I know what you're thinking. Why are you using a power tool to put them on? I'm quite simply just using it just to spin them on for the sake of time. I'm not actually using it to tighten it. So you can just relax. Maybe that wasn't hand tightened on there very well. I'm not sure the exact torque for this. I'm gonna go with...
It was at this moment that he knew. He f***ed up.
I'm gonna go with it probably needs to be somewhere around like 60. That's a guess. You know what? I'm just gonna go with what I like to call the German measurement, good and tight. That feels good and tight. Okay, good and tight. In the future, I'm thinking about replacing this line with a stainless steel braided, just because I think that would help with the feeling of the brakes, a little bit of good stopping power when I do that, or at the very least, even before I do this, I want to change my brake fluid, because I don't know if that's been done. It at least hasn't been done by me, so honestly, who knows how long it's been. But the point that I'm trying to get at is this right here is that little rubber boot that I showed you from that package, and it actually goes through the casting right here, and it was fairly difficult to do, but it's, you know, it's manageable. You can do it. Just not the easiest thing in the world, and with it being so cold, it's like 30 something degrees. See my breath? So it's a little chilly. Anyways, I'm out here, I'm doing this, it's a little chilly. I want to go inside, warm up. So I'm not doing these tonight, but when I change my fluids, I'll end up doing that as well. So that'll be a future project for me. Starting to run out of juice in my camera battery. Doesn't have a huge lifespan, but that is essentially what you need to do to change your brakes. I did one side. I'm gonna do the other side off camera, but I just wanted to show you the way that you'd go about doing that. All you guys probably screaming at the TV, phone, computer, wherever you're watching this, you forgot to put on the bracket. Yeah, I did. But you know what? This is only like 3 minutes after that last clip. Put the bracket on. Don't worry, I got it. Well guys, there you have it. Just did the other side. We're all done. So at this point, the idea is take it for a ride, and you need to break in the brakes. Yes, you heard that right. They have a break in, just like new sneakers. You got to break them in before they're nice and comfy. These, you need to break them in, or else you could end up getting some premature warping, among other potential issues. So check the kit for the brake pads or the rotor. Should come with some kind of documentation where it explains what the break-in period is entails. For these, they say you need to do 5 consecutive, so one after another, 40 miles an hour to, I think it's 5 or 10, and it's a very aggressive brake. So like slam on the brakes from 40 miles an hour down to 10. Do that 5 times. That will get the rotors smoking hot. That's the idea. Get them smoking hot. And then after you're done doing that, then you do again 5. I think again these are 35 miles an hour down to 5 miles an hour. So you do one after the next, and then at that point it's just drive for a couple minutes until the brakes have a chance to just naturally cool down, and then you're pretty much good to go. So also during that period when the brakes are smoking hot, don't, like, if you come up to a red light or a stop sign or something, don't just sit there holding your brakes, because they're still braking in, and the brakes are, the calipers are going to be squeezing the rotors really hard, and you know, if they're smoking hot, they could end up, you know, putting a dimple or, you know, a compression spot from the pads, just holding it so hard. So if you come up to a light or a stop sign, just make sure that you just throw it in the park. Or if you're driving a stick, just pull up the park and brake. You know, you don't want to, you just don't want to sit there too long with the caliper squeezing too much. But anyways, so there you have it, guys. That is how you go about doing the brakes on the 2014 Jeep Grand Cherokee. It's a WK2, so this should apply to pretty much any WK2s, maybe even the WKs. Maybe. If it doesn't, don't shoot the messenger. But anyways, there you have it. I hope this helps. If it does help you, hit the like button, smash the subscribe. I got lots of other stuff that I'm capable of doing, so just stay tuned to the channel. You never know what's going to come up next. Could be something that you need done yourself and you just don't know how to do it yet. So we'll see you on the next one. It's the next day and I have it back up on jack stands. Why? Well, after I had done the work, I was thinking about it some more, and brakes are kind of important. You might want to torque them down to the proper torque specs. And yesterday I used the German torque spec of good and tight. I'm sorry if that offends anyone, but I think it's funny. Good and tight. Turns out that the front calipers need to be torqued down to, I think, 129 foot-pounds. The rears need to get torqued down to 89, and I didn't torque either, so I need to go ahead and do that before I really start taking any serious trips or slamming on the brakes or doing any of that kind of stuff, just because I don't want my calipers to fall off. So that's it, guys. Just make sure that you torque all your bolts. You don't want your calipers to fall off while you're driving. Yeah, I mean, it's really straightforward. Just a couple bolts, popping out the brake pads, putting the new ones in, clip, whatever. So hope you found this helpful. If it did, smash that thumbs up button, throw me a subscribe so that you can see more DIY stuff when I come up with it in the future. And thanks for watching.